check out beacons.ai/comicsfunprofit for all the C4 FAP links you could ever need, all in one place. You can provide feedback, listen, support, share, enjoy these. We have our Patreon there. You can buy us a beer or a coffee. You can check out our Instagrams, our Twitters, our Facebooks. Check out our YouTube page. You can email us. You can listen to our podcasts on Patreon, if you're a subscriber, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on Podbean. We have Google Podcasts on there. We have an Amazon wish list. You want to buy Kyle and I something? Fine. You can do that here. We appreciate it. We have Kyle's RPG podcast listed on there, so you can check out his Dork Day Afternoon offerings. We have Cowabunga links, so you can check out the Cowabunga Deep Discount FOC and pre-order list. Get on that. That's RLCS, so you can check that out as well. And we want to just give you opportunities to say hi, to check out what we're doing, support us if you would like, or just listen. Check out beacons.ai/comicsfunprofit for all the C4 FAP links you could ever need. Thanks. Back to the show.
Aloha, it's Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing Eisner nominee and Ledger Award winner writer Norm Harper. He is here to promote HAPHAVEN, the deluxe edition from Oni Press. Now, this book comes out on June 4th. Norm, welcome to the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Now, Norm, for our listeners, I'm just going to go over some of your previous works and some of your, actually, one of your upcoming projects. Now, let's talk about this. HAPHAVEN. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that came out in 2019. This won a Ledger. This is the one that won the Ledger Award. Is that correct?
Yeah, a Silver Ledger Award medal, I believe.
Okay.
That was back in like 2019, 2020. Yeah.
Okay. And then also, too, now, listeners, we will go over later in the interview what is included in this new deluxe edition of HAPHAVEN. Also, too, Norm has written Ricky, that came out in 2016. That was published from Karate Pet Shop. This is the book that was nominated for the Eisner. Is that correct?
Yeah. Graphic novel adaptation of Ricky Tikki Tavi from the Jungle Book that I did with Matthew Foltz-Gray, and we were nominated Best Publication for Kids.
Okay. And then also, too, you've also worked on another book called The Sequel that came out in 2019 from Fanbase Press.
That's right.
I'm sorry?
Oh, just confirming. Yes.
Oh, okay. And then the last one, The Naughty List, that came out in 2015 from Karate Pet Shop. Is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, also, too, you and artist Megan Carter, you guys will be launching a new Kickstarter campaign that's going to come out this summer called The Iron Barge. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask, for listeners, do you have a time frame when this will come out, and what is the story about?
For the Iron Barge?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that Kickstarter should drop. I believe we're on track for it to drop the same week that HAPHAVEN comes out, so it'll be early June. And that is a post-apocalyptic talking animal story. So it's sort of like, imagine like the world of Charlotte's Web after climate change wipes out all the people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's set in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea is climate change has overrun the world. Now Vegas is just this unending sandstorm.
Yes.
And all of the animals, the exotic animals from the cities, like various exhibits, and the cats and dogs from the domestic areas, and the scavengers from the desert, all the animals have taken shelter inside of the casinos in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And all the casinos now are these sovereign city-state kingdoms. So every casino is like its own nation, and within that casino, the animals have created societies that like mirror whatever the theme of the casino was. So in Excalibur,
yes,
all like knights, and so the Wild West casino, and there's the New York is like the mafia.
Oh,
and so the story itself, that's the world. The story itself is about the Iron Barge, which is a craft that sails the underground river, which is previously the sewer. And once a year, we'll go around all the kingdoms and pick up their worst prisoners to ferry
Uh-huh.
them to a penal colony known as the Ark. And on this particular run, Brooke, who's the first mate of the barge, and one of the prisoners named Porter, who was a pirate, have to go on the run from Porter's crew because they're looking to get him for various reasons, which I will for now keep secret. And
Yes.
Porter wants to get to the Ark because it's the only
Mhm.
place in all the world he thinks he'll be safe from his crew getting to him. And so they have to go on the run through the king. So it's kind of a road trip through all these various kingdoms as they try to get Porter to safety and uncover
Mhm.
exactly why is it that he's on the run and what can they do about it and all that.
Oh my God, that sounds
So yeah, it's sort of a Mouse Guard meets Mad Max is how I've been
yes.
describing
Mhm.
it. Yeah.
Oh, great. Norm, you could please correct me if I'm wrong. And I can't remember if you said is is this just the is this like a is this the first issue, or do you guys have all three issues? Because it's a mini series, right? If I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah. It's a mini series of undetermined number of issues at this point.
Okay.
I've got the story sketched out pretty well. We're just trying to decide exactly how we're gonna break things up and how many Kickstarters we want to do and that
Mhm.
kind of thing. So we do know how long the story is. It's outlined and it's written in full draft form actually. But we're just right now we're kind of doing some math on exactly how many Kickstarters we want to do. So how many issues will it be? But it'll be 6 chapters regardless.
Mhm.
But that may be 3 books. It might be 6 books or whatever. Um, but yeah, and hopefully my hope is it can be like once we've introduced this world. Are you familiar with Astro City? Uh,
Yes. Oh, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I hope it's something like that where we can keep going back to the world and telling like different stories about
Yes.
different people, different corners of
Yes.
because we have all these various kingdoms
Mhm.
and so this story because it's the road trip we get to take you through like and you'll get to see not all the various kingdoms but quite a few of them and then hopefully if the response is there we can just keep going back and we can do stories that are set entirely in one kingdom about the people that live there or we can do more
Yes.
road trip kind of things or we could do stories about kingdoms at war like there's so many things we could do with it and so I hope we get to kind of treat it that way where it's not always necessarily about the same characters, but always about
Oh,
going into the same world.
yes. Oh my God, this sounds it. I am being serious. This sounds great.
Thank you.
And we're looking at probably sometime, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're looking sometime in June, probably
Yeah,
around, yeah, like the
yeah.
first 2 or 3 weeks in June. I'm really going to back this up because it just sounds it's because I read about it when you did an interview with Barbara Dillon of Fanbase Press.
Hmm.
Uh, I know you spoke about it, and it sounded like a great idea, but just talking to you about it is like, ooh, now you got me hooked.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's my first Kickstarter. Megan has done some before, so I'm kind of following her lead on
Mhm.
the technicalities of the platform and everything. But we're having a lot of fun with it. Megan does animal art so well, and she does action so well. So
Mhm.
it's a really great vehicle for her.
Mhm.
And the world building and the various characters are all so
Yes.
much fun for me to dive into. So I hope people like it. I'm excited.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna say I'm excited. I'm excited about this story too. All right. I'm sorry. All right. We have to continue. We're here to talk about Halfhaven. One more thing I just want to add is that, listeners for Lego fans, Norm has worked as a contributor for the Brothers Brick. Is that a blog or a magazine about that talks about?
Yeah, it's kind of a blog. It's a website. Handles Lego news, reviews of sets, but primarily shines spotlights on creations that other people have made, and so just sort of blogs about the things people are building and you know, that kind of thing.
Okay. All right, Norm, thank you very much. Okay, so I want to give a big shout out to Hannah Bahedri of Superfan Promotions. Hannah, thank you very much for asking us, the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast, to interview Norm, and thank you Thank you very much for the advanced reading copy. Norm, I'm going to ask, would you like to add anything to that?
I would just echo your thanks. Hannah's been great to work with, and yeah.
All right. Oh, thank you. Now, listeners, as I already mentioned, that I got some of my interviews from the fan base press article that Barbara Dillon had did a written interview with Norm, and it's titled "Fan Base Press Interviews Norm Harper on the upcoming deluxe edition release of the fantastical coming-of-age graphic novel HAPHAVEN." So listeners, if you get, and that was dated on April 22nd of this year. So listeners, if you guys get a chance, please check out that great article. All right, Norm, where can listeners follow you on social media?
I'm that Norm dude on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. I think, I mean, I know Mastodon, but I forget the server. I mean, SearchMake. But that Norm dude, on any social media platform, that's the handle I use, and www.thatnormdude.com is my personal website.
Okay, well, thank you. All right, we're gonna jump right in. HAPHAVEN. Now, this is from Forward Reviews. Quote, much more than a mere checklist of superstitions, HAPHAVEN is sure to please fans of unique fantasies. Norm, I'm going to start off with the question. What is the story about?
HAPHAVEN is the story of Alex Mills, who is a 13-year-old girl who steps on a crack and does in fact break her mother's back. So she has to travel to HAPHAVEN, the magical world from which all of her superstitions draw their power, so that she can retrieve a rabbit's foot to save her mother.
Okay. And then, how did you come up with this story? Like, one day, were you like reading a bunch of sword and sorcery books?
It was actually it was a combination of two stories like getting smushed together. I was doing some work, and I was really interested in doing a story about superstitions in general, and kind of like knitting together a lot of what we think of as, you know, just the sort of like everyday stuff. You don't even know where you first heard about it, but like breaking mirrors and four-leaf clovers and horseshoes and rabbit feet and knocking on wood. And at the same time, I was really interested in doing kind of a darker fantasy story that felt like some of the things I'd grown up with, like the Neverending Story or the Dark Crystal. And I thought that they would be two different stories. So I've actually got some abandoned concepts where I was like, you know, working on one and working on the other. And I thought the superstition story should be more like brighter and fun and, you know, leprechauns and then I wish I could remember the exact moment because it's back like a decade or more now. But at some point I hit on the if you step on a crack, break your mother's back rhyme, and I got like, it really kind of clicked for me that like, oh, that is really dark because you're doing like physical like harm to somebody very close to you, and you're the reason for it, and it took on almost like a Brothers Grimm fairy tale kind of connotation for me for a second there, and then I was like, this could be the dark fantasy, and then it all kind of, big picture wise, it came together very quickly. It was just like, oh, like somebody steps on a crack, they've got to go, and it took a bit still to work out all the world building. Like it's not like, oh, and then I wrote the draft and we were done. But it was the fusion of those two ideas that ultimately became HAPHAVEN. So that's where the story came from.
Oh, that is so cool. That is so cool. Thank you very much. Now, let's talk about some of your characters. We already talked about Alex Mills. Who is Alex Mills in this story?
Alex is a girl. When the story, we have a prologue where she's younger. Then we open on her at the very tail end of her 12th year. She's about to have her 13th birthday. But she doesn't want to celebrate it because 13 is an unlucky number, and she's a very, very superstitious girl. And so that's who she is a girl who is so superstitious that it's actually like getting in the way of her living her life to its fullest. And her mom can see that very clearly, and is trying to force her to have a 13th birthday party as a way to sort of get her to put aside these superstitions, but she won't do it. And then so Alex, in a adolescent, not a fit, but she steps on a crack like very
Yeah.
clearly, as if to say like, oh yeah, mom, boom.
Yeah.
And then of course it does harm her mother. So that night she's visited by Hubbub Caskside, who is a warrior
Yes.
leprechaun.
Mm-hmm.
And Hubbub says like, we can help your mom if you'll come with me
Mm-hmm.
and to HAPHAVEN. And then so that starts her on her journey.
And then for listeners, Hubbub is a leprechaun, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And then also too in the beginning where she goes to HAPHAVEN or is transported to HAPHAVEN, another character she meets is Penguin Copperlaw.
Yeah, Penguin Copperlong, folks call her Penny.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so Penny is the source of the like, find a penny, pick it up all day long, you'll have good luck. So Penny is somebody that is sort of a problem solver. She's
Mm-hmm.
very direct, very tough.
Yes.
Doesn't coddle you, but kind of pushes you in the right direction and gets you going. And is a ally to Alex through the adventure.
Yes. Yes. Like you said, I love Penny's character because she's so strong. She's just direct.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Penny is a blast to write.
All right. In before we see Alex as a 13-year-old girl baseball player and so forth, in the first opening pages, Alex's father talks about her actually his grandfather, but for Alex it's a great grandfather.
Great grandfather. Yeah, it's
Okay.
a couple greats in there, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the grandfather's name is Zane. Now Zane lived during in the Western period. He also believed in luck and so forth. I'm going to ask, was there a reason why her grandfather name is Zane?
Yeah, so Zane is a Wild West gambler, and he has become the subject of a lot of family folklore.
Mm-hmm.
So Alex inherits her superstitious nature from her father.
Mm-hmm.
He told her stories about all the superstitions, and he had a softball bat that had all of the, or not
Yes.
all, a lot of like carvings of like horseshoes,
Mm-hmm.
clovers, and various lucky charms. And one night he leaves that behind with Alex because
Mm-hmm.
he's interested in it. And then he goes to handle a thing, and it's a rainy night,
Yes.
and he's killed in an auto accident, which is part of like what cements in Alex like this, like the bat is lucky,
Mm-hmm.
superstitions are real.
Mm-hmm.
And Zane, as their ancestor, who was a card player, and card players naturally have built into them like luck
Mm-hmm.
and opportunity kind of. He's a big part of the source of why that side
Mm-hmm.
of the family is so superstitious. And I picked the name Zane for two reasons. And one is, I don't know if you're a fan of MASH, but Colonel
Yes.
Potter always read Zane Grey novels, which were
Yes.
about cowboys and stuff.
That's what I thought. Mm-hmm.
And I have never read a Zane Grey novel, but I had a cowboy character and I needed a name for him, so I was like, Zane, Cowboys, done. But I also, like, as a word nerd, I just sort of I liked how Zane and Alex, they're both four-letter names. They both use the A and E vowel. They both have a very common consonant in the N and the L, but then they both have the very uncommon consonant in the Z and the X.
Yes.
It just felt like a good like mirror of each other in that way. So I thought it looked good on the page together, and so.
I love that idea about the names too. Norm, like I said, I don't want to spoil. I know the story, like we talked about, the story's been out since 2019. This is just a deluxe edition, but I mean, but this is for new readers who have never heard of it. But I love it how you said, yeah, you use the names to kind of mirror each other. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but that is great. Okay. I'm just going to continue to move on. I want to move on to the next question.
No worries.
Okay, so already Zane is a card player, during Western times. Was there a reason why you have Alex and even her father as baseball players?
Yeah, in the same way that like poker has inherently within it like luck and superstition. I think American sports culture, and probably sports culture the worldwide, almost independent of the sport, like there's a lot of like superstitions built into that. So I
Yeah.
knew I wanted there to be some kind of sport quality.
Yes.
And baseball like gave me the bat that could be used as like a totem or a talisman,
Yes.
So we went with the bat because it was a useful tool and
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
That makes sense. And um one of because that's one of the things I love about this story is that, like you said, that the bat, well, not only the bat is also a connection, like we already mentioned, is a connection to her father.
Mhm.
Not only, the superstition tales that he tells her, but she believes after her father's death, she believes in it, she holds on to that, but she also holds on to the bat as well. And I love it because, like you said, it's like it can be used, any way as a weapon and
Mhm.
so forth. And also, too, and I don't ask me why or how, but because I remember, I think in the first couple panels when she's walking up to the to the batter's plate, it almost seems like she's like sort of like she could wield it as a sword. I just thought that was pretty cool. I don't know why I thought that. So yeah, but I just thought that was pretty neat that she, because it comes in handy for her when she goes to Halfhaven.
Mhm.
She's
Yeah,
already got her weapon. Yeah. Okay. Um, what I also love about the story too is like I think like in the first or second chapter, when she first appears in Halfhaven, um, I love it where she's still trying to hold on to all her beliefs and so forth. And when she comes across Penny, and like you said that you find a penny, you have good luck all day and stuff like that. But I love it how she grabs Penny and she goes, "I found my penny," but then all of a sudden she starts realizing, okay, things are not working out how I wanted to.
Mhm.
She starts, and I love it how she's some of her thoughts and her what she believed in is starting to change. So
Yeah.
I love it. It's great. It's a great
Thanks.
story.
Thanks. My thinking there was back when I said that it was actually like two different stories, and part of the reason I was so interested in telling a story about superstitions is I thought it could be a great way um to talk about with younger readers sort of the idea that uh morality is conditional.
Yes.
Like you say, like it's wrong to steal, and we generally like accept that as like uh, a truth almost all the time. But then, the question of like, well, is it immoral to steal to feed a starving child? Or,
Yeah.
Robin Hood is a very popular, like,
Yes.
pop culture figure and he'd rob from the rich and give to the poor. And so, like, we do sort of like, we make allowances for sometimes like bending the morality is okay and rather than like tell a story that was about those moral questions, you could sort of sub in the superstitions and go like, well, like, oh, okay, a rabbit's foot is always lucky. Well,
Yes.
is it if you're the rabbit? Like,
Yeah, that's
um,
true. Yes.
so that was sort of the initial drive of the story. So yeah, to have Penny kind of come in and uh, push Alex to go against some of the things that are her instinct because she's like, no, 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 if I'm here, then I have to do this. This
Yes.
is how the superstition works, and have Penny be the one to say like, well, but is it?
Yes.
And nudge Alex further and further in that direction was a lot of fun.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm gonna start. Um, we talked a little bit about the story. Now I just want to ask you, how did you and artist Louis Joyce team up for the story back in 2019?
I'd been following Louis on social media. I was a big fan of his art. I think I had read a book he did called Past the Last Mountain already.
Mm-hmm.
This is a while ago. My memory is I read it after we were working on Halfhaven, but I heard him on a stream talking to just the other day, and he said that I had already read it.
Okay.
And I think his memory might be better than mine. But regardless, it's a great book, and
Yes.
y'all should check it out if you haven't. Past the Last Mountain by Louis Joyce and Paul Allore, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'd been a fan of his, and I had finished Ricky, and it was coming out, and I knew like I wanted this to be the next book, and by that time I had kind of like figured out that this will be superstitions and the dark fantasy kind of
Mm-hmm.
put together. So I was looking for artwork that was really gonna capture that, and I thought his was just perfect for it. So
Yes.
it was as simple as going to his website, I guess, and finding his email address and
Mm-hmm.
writing him and just saying, hey, would you be interested? And
Mm-hmm.
there were normal talks about budget and schedule and all that. But
Mm-hmm. Yes.
yeah, yeah, I was a fan and I reached out.
Okay. All right. Now because I'm going to shift to now, it's like, I want to just, if you can describe, um, for listeners, describe HAPHAVEN, because we already talked about that. It's a place where where the sort of the superstition is, but Earth is taking the powers of the superstition kind of
Hmm.
like away from them.
Yeah.
But HAPHAVEN is is more than just a place for the leprechauns to live. There's certain areas like there's like a dark forest. There's a oh shoot, like sort of a medieval castle town. So if you could describe
Yeah.
for our listeners, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Halfhaven is just a green, or at least the section of it we see in this book would be a green and lush
Yes.
fantasy land. It's got Shamrock Castle and Slugwood Forest, which is a forest where if you don't knock on the trees as you pass them, their limbs will curl up into a fist and punch you.
Yes.
So that's why we have knocking on wood in our world is good luck, is because that's
Hmm.
you have to survive moving through Slugwood Forest. So basically, their customs and their laws um, generate an energy that flows over into our world, and we can pick up on either the good or the bad energy by mirroring those actions. And so everything that we have as something we would consider superstition on Earth, they have in Halfhaven as just a way of life.
Hmm.
So they grow four-leaf clovers as a
Yes.
staple crop, and they have to knock on that wood when they travel through that forest. And there are black cats and rabbits
Hmm.
and all kinds of things like that uh, carry over, all those
Hmm.
properties. And so that was sort of the idea, was to take all these various superstitions that in reality like uh, come from all kinds of different origins, and try to tie it together
Hmm.
under one mythology, and give it a reason for that. So the leprechauns are there. They live in a very an almost like steampunk vibe kind of society, and that was
Okay.
due to a sequence we had to cut, because like at one point I'll just
Yeah. Yes.
yeah. This is one of those like kill your darlings things, when they say like I think it's Faulkner says you have to kill your darlings in writing. So it used to be there was a whole army of jinxes, and jinxes there's one
Oh,
jinx
yeah.
monster in the book, and he's got a rain cloud suspended over his head constantly, and
Yes.
he just lives in a constant rainstorm. There used to be like many jinxes,
Hmm.
and the idea was the leprechauns would like hunt them and capture them and keep them locked up like in their castle or in their airships
Yes.
and things, and they'd collect the water that came from those rain clouds and burn that for fuel. So it was literally a steampunk society, and there was going to be a big
Yes.
action sequence. But for reasons of that, it got a little off the narrative spine. That that big action sequence wasn't really as much about Alex as
Hmm.
uh, you'd want it to be. And also just like I could, I was paying Louis his page rate out of pocket, and
Hmm.
there's only so many pages I could afford. So, we had to
Yes.
like
Yeah.
adjust the story for that, and various other reasons. But so the steampunk aesthetic remains, even though the genesis of it
Hmm.
is no longer in the story. But yeah, so it's these leprechauns living together with other magical creatures, and some of them are human sized, some of them are tiny, some of them are talking animals, and it's just, yeah, it's a fantasy land, like you might imagine Wonderland or Narnia or something like that.
Hmm. Okay. Now, I know you're a Lego fan, and
Mhm.
I'm very serious about that. I am. I'm not making fun or anything.
No, no, no.
Like, did you use some of, those medieval Lego sets to kind of like give you an idea like what some of the like Haven castles might look like? Like,
I did not personally do that. I described things for Louis, and
mhm,
I don't know what sources he might have sought out, so it's possible some Lego creeped into there. I will say though that I have a lot of toys and action figures in general, and I will often use them for helping me uh like because I can't draw like I'm if you're playing Pictionary, like you want me on your team, I'm that good, but I like I can't do a comic on my own.
Hmm.
So often what I'll do is I'll pose action figures and if it's like, no, this is what the panel should look like, and I'll take a
Yeah,
picture and that kind of thing. And I
yeah.
think I may have used some Lego for helping Louis get a sense of scale um, on some things.
Okay, no, but yeah.
But yeah, that like Lego and just tiny figurines in general and stuff can be a surprisingly helpful tool sometimes when you're trying to
Yes.
get you and your artist on the same page.
Oh, okay. One There's one scene that I love when Alex is finally goes into the city. I love Louis at least about two or three panels. Actually, one panel I want to focus on is when Alice is going through the city. She's entering the city and she's waving to the leprechauns, like I guess they're on the second floor or something.
Mhm.
What I love about that, there's a little bit of a hint of Gulliver's Travels in there. I mean, it's not much, but it just
Yeah,
reminded
yeah, yeah,
me.
no, of course, of course.
It was just so cool because Alice is smiling, going, "Hey, hi," and I just thought that was great.
Yeah, yeah.
That was.
That sequence is a really fantastic one, and I remember because we had made the book, um, and I'd say we considered it done, like we had finished it, and I had self-published Ricky through Karate Pet Shop, which is like my studio thing, and I thought I was going to do the same with this one, and then we ended up landing at Lion Forge,
Mhm,
and Louis had done that sequence. Now it's like a two-page spread, the establishing shot of the castle
mhm,
and then those panels. And we had done it where the establishing shot of the castle was just like the top panel on one page
yes.
when we took it in. And I don't remember if it was his idea or Grace's, our editor at
Mhm,
Lineforge, but at some point it got rearranged and it became that two-page spread and it just worked so much better and you could really like you got just such a better sense of like what Alex was walking into, and
yes. Mhm,
yeah, Louis just killed it on that art. And then when we rearranged it, it just got
mhm.
even better. And I already thought it was amazing, so it was so gratifying to see like the improvement. Yeah.
All right. So actually, this is a perfect segue to next. My next question is, now originally Happy Haven came out in 2019, and as you mentioned, from Lion Forge. Now the deluxe edition is coming out through Oni Press. So how did you team up with Oni Press?
Well, it was the merger of the two companies.
Mhm,
The original book came out in March 2019.
mhm.
And forgive me, I'm going to get a little bit of this timeline wrong because it was so
Oh,
long
that's
ago.
fine.
But we came out in March 2019, and it was like the next week or
Mhm,
something. The merger of the two companies made the news,
mhm,
and so it was like, oh, okay, like, and I found out, the same way everyone else did. I was like on Bleeding Cool or The Beat or something, and was
mhm,
just like, oh, what? My publisher's merging with another publisher?
mhm.
Um, and I don't say that to shade anybody.
Oh no,
Just
yeah.
that's how it reached me. So um, we had come out, and the news was that like every creator-owned book at Lion Forge was going to become an Oni press book. It was going to get folded over there. Um, and I reached out to my editor and kind of confirmed like, hey, this is what's going on. I was like, yeah, but don't worry, everything's cool.
Mhm,
Uh, and so then that summer, a couple months later at San Diego Comic Con, I spoke with the Oni editor in chief at the time, and I just introduced myself and said, "Hey, like, you're my editor in chief now." And she was very complimentary of Half Haven. She said she was aware of it. Said we would like to get it out there with an Oni logo on it and
mhm,
do a new release, but we've got every creator-owned book Lion Forge had in production, every creator-owned book we had in production. We're working on those right now, so just give us time, but like
mhm.
we will be getting back to you. And I was like, hey, that sounds awesome. Very cool. And I was even scheduled to do do some signings at Oni's booth at Emerald City in March the following year and things like that. So we were having a really good relationship. And then that Emerald City never happened because that was when the
Pandemic.
pandemic hit.
Yes.
And we shut down, and it looked like the comic industry might collapse entirely.
Yeah.
And then there were people, high-ranking people at Oni left. And so I kind of like put that aside. I was like, you know what? I don't think this thing is ever going to happen because there's just been so much turbulence.
Yes.
So I was like, all right, that's fine. And sometime last year, Oni put new people in, and the new publisher Hunter and I have friends in common. So I was asking like, hey, tell me about Hunter. Oh, he's really cool. You should meet him and stuff. And so then I was like, well, maybe it's time. So I thankfully Grace, who was our editor at Lion Forge, is still an editor at Oni.
Yes.
And I kind of went to her and was just like, hey, so HAPHAVEN. And she's like, oh, you know what? Let me run it up the flagpole. And it got to Hunter, and it was, he was not aware of the book, but because it had just fallen through so many cracks at that point. But yeah, once he saw it, he was like, this is in our library. This is ours. It was like, we're gonna do a hardcover deluxe edition, and I was like, okay, great. And that was just kind of the story.
That's nice that they're doing it's a hardcover.
Yeah.
This book does deserve to be a hardcover edition.
Oh, thank you.
The other thing too, I just realized too, because like this came out, in 2019. This is the 5th anniversary of HAPHAVEN.
It is, yes.
I just realized that. But like you said, it should be in a hardcover edition. Now, I'm going to ask you, for listeners, can you what's included in this edition? I've seen the back matter. It's great. I love it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the story, and we did go through and I corrected a couple typos in some of the text and changed around some other text to match what is considered sort of like the current Oni house style in terms of punctuation and things like that. But we didn't really alter the narrative at all. This isn't like a Star Wars special edition situation. It's just that the story redone, and then it's got back matter that includes a lot of our early art, like Louis' character designs and a look at the Louis' process in taking a page away from pencils to colors. And just behind the scenes stuff like that I'm really excited we get to share with people. Some of those sketches, like the early character sketches, I've got printed out and they're taped to my wall downstairs, and they've been up there. I taped them up originally like to look at them as I was working on the script and stuff, but I was like, I'm never taking these down. I love them so much. And sometimes my wife is a little like, can we at least like frame them or something? And I'm like, don't leave them alone. So now everyone gets to see them, and I'm very excited.
The other thing too, I love also too, there's like oh shoot, like some type of visual guide in the book, like you see Alex's foot stepping on the crack, and you have a little synopsis of what the
the survival guide.
Yes, the survival guide. Yes.
Yeah, that was a thing that Lion Forge made for us at the first release. As just a handout that I would Louis and I, when we were doing cons, we just have a bunch of them printed, and you could like hand it out to kids as they're walking by as a way to kind of like entice them in the book. And so when we were putting together the back matter, I was like, oh, we got to dig that up and put it in too.
That's just so cool. That is so cool. All right, we're slowly winding down. I need to ask you this. On page 29, when Hubbub first appears to Alex, Alex, because Hubbub pops up at her nightstand, he introduces himself or something, and he calls her name. She basically jumps behind her bed, and she says, Mother Puss Bucket. How did this wind up in the story? Because this is the second time I've heard that phrase. I'm going to say I want you to tell listeners where did the origin of this line came from, because now I know this is an audio, because ladies and gentlemen listeners, you know I can see Norm has the original Ghostbuster action figures. So Norm, I'm going to say take it away.
Yeah, I love the Ghostbusters. I have built a lot of Ghostbusters things out of Lego, and yeah, that's a quote from Ghostbusters. That moment requires, I think, to be true, uh, Alex to use some rather severe language, because it's a very intense moment for her the first time she sees a
Yes.
leprechaun. But you also want to keep it, appropriate for kids.
Yeah.
And I love that phrase. I've always loved. Mother Puss Bucket is something Peter says in the original movie, and it's got the rhythm and the sound of like a swear, but it isn't. And I think that Alex, being as superstitious as she is, would naturally be led to fiction involving like ghosts and other supernatural things. There are lots of superstitions about like cemeteries and the like. So I just think Alex is a Ghostbusters fan, and she was drawing upon that in that moment. I was certainly homaging the movie. Um, but yeah, I stole from Bill Murray.
Oh, but when I read that line, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Oh, all right. In the early, I'm gonna, before I continue on, do you want to give out any other shout outs to anyone else on the creative team on this deluxe edition book that you want to give?
Yeah, Louis and I worked with Oceano Ransford, who was our letterer,
Mhm.
and so far he's the only one who's lettered any of my graphic novels,
Oh, okay.
and he will be lettering the Iron Barge as well.
Nice.
Then Christopher Meyer and Grace Scheipeter were our editors. Grace came on board when we ended up in Line Forge, and Christopher was a friend of mine. We were working the same day job at the time, but he had been an editor at Boom previously, and so I
Mhm.
was like, I'm making a comic, and I think I need some help, and so he came on board to guide Louis and I for a while before we um, ended up there. And just yeah, Katie, who was at Lion Forge helping us market it, and is now at Oni helping us market it. David Hyde, Hannah, as you mentioned before, all the designers at both Lion Forge and Oni that put together such beautiful looking books. I mean, it's comics are uh, almost always a team effort, and we've had a really really great team helping us out. So.
Well, thank you very much. Um, and I think like your opening pages in the acknowledgement section, you mentioned for SH, we
Mhm.
are the luckiest. May I ask who is SH?
Susan, my wife, is SH.
Nice. That's nice. Oh, thank you very much for sharing that part. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. What was the most fun or exciting thing that you loved working on this story?
Oh, um, I mean, I think I just telling stories is so much fun.
Mhm.
So there's always that kind of thing. I think with Happhaven specifically, oh, that's good. I think it was just I think it was just getting to work with Louis,
Mhm.
who has such a great uh attitude and was so often like I think I've said this before, but he and I have very different influences,
Yes.
just in terms of like what we grew up liking, and we there's a lot of overlap, but every time like pages came in from him, it was like a different. He would give me exactly what I'd asked for from the script,
Mhm.
but often it was like not in any way that I would have imagined it
Mhm.
coming in. And that would sometimes lead to like, oh, well, since you've done this way, I'm going to go, down 10, 20 pages and change something because you've made me think about this element like differently now.
Yes.
And it was that like really true collaboration. Sometimes, uh, you work with an artist and I've done like a short comics and stuff where I've never even met the artist. It's just all gone through the editor and get to have that interplay. Like you're still both like co-authors of the piece, but
Yes.
It isn't that push and pull. And that like with Louis on this one, there was a real because on Ricky I was also acting as the editor. And so I was so stressed all the time that it was a great experience, and Matt is amazing as an artist, but like I was running everything through a different filter. And since we had Chris and Grace acting as the editor, I got to really like approach Louis' pages like in a different mindset.
Yes.
And so it was the perfect combination of all the things where like I didn't have the pressure of being the editor, but I did have the at least until we teamed up with Lineforge, it was like I am the one like paying for this. So like Chris still has to do what I say. Like and and just that like the making of it being in that system and having that back and forth and crafting the world and everything was just like a real blast. I'm excited to potentially work with Louis again. We're always talking. We just have not
Okay.
been able to coordinate
Yes. Yeah.
yet. But I really hope I get to do it again. Yeah.
Oh, Norm, thank you very much for sharing that. Okay, I'm gonna start shifting about 3 more questions. I'm gonna shift this. I'm gonna ask some fun questions. We're gonna talk about Legos. What is your
Yes.
prized possession Lego set?
My prized possession is not an official set, but
Okay.
I have a city that I have built out in my hallway. There's a weird the house we rent has a big long desk built into the hallway, and it's the weirdest place for a desk because like why would anybody sit at a desk in a hallway?
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's there. And so all the drawers of the desk are full of a bunch of like comic back issues and stuff. But on top of it, I've built a Lego city that is all of the things I loved as a kid, like as if they all lived on a block together. So it's Boulder Hill from Mask and the G.I. Joe tactical battle platform and the Ghostbusters firehouse and Castle Grayskull and the Ninja Turtle sewer lair and the Cobra Terradrome and Cobra Snake Mountain, or Cobra Snake Mountain, Skeletor Snake Mountain,
Yeah.
um, all together with like various like buildings and cafes and things. So it's like they all live on a city street together, and I call it Playset Street. And it's I've been working on it for more than a decade now, and as like new Lego stuff comes out, I
Yes.
expand it. So at first it was just on like road base plates, but now Lego has introduced like road pieces that actually have anti studs on the bottom, so you can build under them.
Oh,
And
nice.
I just finished the project of elevating the whole thing so that you can remove part of the street and like there's literally a turtle sewer den like.
Yes.
And yeah, it's everything I loved as a kid put together. And I've built custom mask vehicles, and I've built the 18 van and the kit for Knight Rider and the Ecto one and
Yes.
you name it. They're all just driving around on the street and hanging out together. And that is my most prized Lego possession, but it's one of a kind.
That is nice. All right. Have you and your family been to Hawaii?
I have not. My wife was actually just out there in late January, early February
Oh.
for work.
Oh, okay.
She went to Kauai.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, okay. All right. Um, I'm joking on this part. So yeah, so Hunter, if you're Hunter from Oni Press, if you're listening, I'm just joking. So Norm, if you ever want to do some type of fantasy adventure out here in the Hawaiian Islands, I am quote unquote stressing to you that you and your artist Louis Joyce need to come out here for a month to really see how the culture is, and to
Oh yeah,
immerse yourself in it. You need to have actual living experience and living in the culture.
sure, yeah. Louis in Australia, so that's like the halfway point, right? Like
Yeah.
we come out and meet. It's probably
Yeah.
not quite halfway, but yeah, I would love that.
All right. Last question, any closing words to our listeners?
Just please, if anything we've said sounds fun to you, ask your local bookstore or giant internet retailer to get you Half-Haven the Deluxe Edition, and keep an eye out for the Iron Barge from Megan and I. www.theironbargecomic.com. We'll take you to the Kickstarter page once it's up. Right now, it just goes to a still image of one of our main characters. As sort of a temp thing, but we'll refresh that to go to every Kickstarter campaign, whatever's current, like as we go through production of the whole thing, and really excited about that. So, and yeah, follow me on social media, and I'll update you on all that in case that was too much information. But sounds good. Half-Haven, the Iron Barge. Yeah, that's easy.
All right, Norm, mahalo. Thank you, and Hoyne, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to interview you. I wish you all the success with the deluxe edition of Half-Haven. I want to thank Hannah of Superfan Promotions for asking us, Comics for Fun and Profit, to interview Norm. And Hannah, thank you very much for providing me with the advanced reading copy. And again, Hannah, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. Thank you very much. Now, if you are a new comic book reader or a lifelong comic book reader, or if you love these sword and sorcery action adventure stories and you're looking for something for like your 13 or 14-year-old kid, please check out Half-Haven. Also, too, this is not just for young adults. I read it. I love this book. It's a great story. Now, this deluxe edition comes out on June 4th. And as I've mentioned, I love this story. I know Norm says, it's a dark fantasy, but it's a great sword and sorcery quest story that is not only Alex just trying to find a prize or a cure, but it's also really about a journey about finding herself as well. This story is full of action, adventures. There is some little intense moments that I really love. It's very thought provoking. It's very deep. There's some very moving and touching moments. Like I said, this is a great story. I love it. It's great, and Louis' art is perfect for the story. So if you guys get a chance, please check out the deluxe edition of Half-Haven. Again, it comes out on June 4th, and I want to put out a plug again for Norm's Kickstarter, The Iron Barge. That should be coming out a week or two after this book comes out. Norm, again, thank you very much for talking about the story, going a little bit more detail into the story of The Iron Barge, because now
Yeah,
you sold me. I'm definitely backing this. So again, Norm, thank you very much for talking a little bit about The Iron Barge. Thank you very much.
absolutely.
I want to thank Drew, the host of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Comics for Fun and Profit that comes out every Saturday. And I want to thank you, the listeners. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, guys. Aloha.
Our LCS is Cowabunga Comics, Lake Country, Wisconsin's best pop culture destination for new comics, back issues, gaming, retro video games, vinyl, and figures. Give them a call, 262-569-9999. Check them out online at cowabungacomics.com or follow them on Twitter at Incredicow. They are our LCS, and we utilize their deep discount mail order service to bring Oconomowoc, Wisconsin closer to us. They'll take care of you. Tell them Drew and Kyle sent you. Say hi to Eric and James from us. If you need an LCS, you can't go wrong with Cowabunga Comics.